Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Live Free Now show, bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. I am your host, John Bush, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. I want to thank everybody that's tuning in live. Shout out to the podcast audience watching after the fact. We have a wonderful program lined up for you today. I'm going to be doing a little riffing, ranting, and raving here to start the program, and then I'll be talking about Bitcoin. Some people's just objections that I know are rooted in something deeper. So we're going to overcome a couple common Bitcoin objections and myths. And I'm also going to talk about the role that our identity plays in how we perceive the world and the meaning that we give to certain people, phenomenon, circumstances. I think when we take a deeper look at who it is that we believe we are and the identity and the role we play in this world, it has a lot to do with how we view the world, and in turn, we can kind of work this a bit in order to achieve maximum success and just live the good life. So shout out everybody that's tuned in here live. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be rocking and rolling, moving and grouping for about an hour here. I do want to remind folks you can always subscribe to our podcast. So shout out to the podcast audience. Check out livefreenow.show for the podcast, livefreenow.show. We'd love for you to join us live and then also to watch us or to listen to us on the podcast. Shout out Tammy Hill coming at us. Where's everybody tuning in from? Thank you everybody for joining us again. Live Free Now. Let's get right down to it. So, of course, Bitcoin's price is skyrocketing. And let's go. I want to remind you too, I've been meaning to get into a regular groove about doing this show again because there's a lot that goes on here behind the scenes at Live Free Academy and Brave Botanicals and all this cool stuff we're doing with the Freedom Cell Network and everything. But what I enjoy most is connecting with you folks in this format. Live stream, podcast, getting on stage and speaking. And so it's my intention to do this podcast more regularly. This will be the second week in a row that I'm hitting it at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. So you can expect to hear us every Wednesday, 11 a.m., and you can expect the podcast to be released shortly thereafter. But, Bitcoin's going through the roof, and I started sharing that because I'll be able to check in with you guys regularly about the common happenings in the world, the freedom space, and all sorts of stuff. Tammy's coming to us from Seneca, Missouri. I like Missouri. I'm a big Missouri fan. All right, so check it out. Here's the Bitcoin price here, and to get this price, I just head over to CoinGecko.com. Bitcoin is trading at a whopping 66,968. Shout out to Adam Kerrville coming at us from Midland, Texas. Out there in oil country, boy, I tell you what. And our good friend Rainer coming from the People's Republic of Canada. Shout out to our good freedom friends up in Canada. So, as you can see here, the price is 67,968. Okay, so it's just under 67,000. And the all-time high actually happens to be just over 69,000. Okay, so let's take a look at the price. So whenever I check the price, I go to CoinGecko.com. That's the website. And then I click on this Trading View tab here. And this allows me to see these candlesticks. If you've done one of my crypto workshops or courses, I've taught you what these candlesticks means and what we can learn from these candlesticks. But let's just take a look at the daily chart. Each one of these candlesticks represents a moment in time. And as you can see, as we worked our way up each day, we hit the all-time high basically, or right around the all-time high, depending on what exchange. And the next day, the markets just completely bled out. Absolutely wild there. And one of the reasons why the market bled out is, so just a quick thing to let people know, if you're going to be getting involved in the Bitcoin space, in the cryptocurrency space, you can expect it to be a wild ride. There's very, very, very many ups and gains, and there's also a lot of rapid declines. So it's important that you don't invest more than you're willing to lose, because you may find yourself as a nervous wreck. And also, it's important to leverage certain strategies that can help make sure that you don't fall victim to the volatility By the way, I'll be sharing a lot of these strategies coming up in my upcoming webinar, which you could join at livefree.academy/Bitcoin webinar. livefree.academy/Bitcoin webinar. I hope you'll check that out. That's going to be taking place this Saturday. It's absolutely free to join. livefree.academy/Bitcoin webinar. I'll break down my secrets, why Bitcoin's better than gold in almost every way. Will become the most valuable asset in the world. Strongly believe that. My dead simple framework for absolute beginners to immediately start using Bitcoin, even if the market's high, to get in a way that doesn't get you all wrecked. And then finally, I'll share proof that no government or corporation or hacker in the world can shut down, censor, or break Bitcoin. So I hope that you'll tune into that. But on top of people just naturally taking profit, that's what causes the price to go down, right? The more people that are selling, the more likely the price is to go down, right? More people are selling than there are buying. This drives prices down. When more people are buying than there are people selling, this drives prices up. And when the price reached its peak, of course, it came down because there was a lot of people that maybe had an automatic sell order. Additionally, I saw there was a wallet back from 2011. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. 2011 wallet, 50 Bitcoin sell. Let's see if there was any news articles about that. I'm not seeing anything right off the top of my head. Maybe it's because I'm using Brave browser. I always try to use alternative search engines, but sometimes you get better results. So old wallet awakens. 50 Bitcoin, all-time high, 2024. Let's see what we get there. There it is. No, that's not it. There's all sorts. This happens all the time. Okay. All-time high, 3 cryptocurrency. Anyway, I saw it on Twitter, on X. It showed the wallet, right? You could see all the wallets that are moving because Bitcoin has a transparent blockchain. And as it turns out, somebody that had mined early on mined Bitcoin. That's how New Bitcoiner created. And they were rewarded with 50 Bitcoin every time they solved a block. And they ended up selling a huge volume of those Bitcoins. So as they were selling, they were just sell. They had to lower their price in order to fulfill those orders. That's something that may have spearheaded the drop in price. But either way, the price went from 69,000 all-time high down to like 62,000, and now it's back up to 67. So we'll be checking in on the price here and there with the Live Free Now show. But what I really wanted to talk to you about Bitcoin is, you see, when Bitcoin's price rises, especially when it rises substantially, and everybody's talking about Bitcoin, and people that had the foresight to invest in Bitcoin before this dramatic rise, we get excited and we start sharing and thumping our chest, go Bitcoin, right? Because at the end of the day, our net worth is going up, which is pretty cool and exciting, right? There's a group of people that, rather than being happy or grateful or cheer on folks that are in their community because they're, building some more wealth, right? They detract and they increase objections and kind of get all bitter. And so just want to break down one of these common objections and something that I've really been thinking about. It's kind of annoying me, but one of the things that always comes up is, well, how's your Bitcoin gonna be whenever the grid goes down? That's something that was coming up over and over, and it comes up for gold bugs and silver bugs often. But here's what the challenge is that I'm finding. The challenge is a lot of people that share this, they're like so concerned about the grid going down. Allegedly, they're so concerned about the grid going down that they pass up opportunities to make substantial gains or to invest in what I believe to be the world's best asset class, the world's best asset, Bitcoin. I think if people are so worried about the grid going down or the internet being shut off, I'd like to ask what those very same people are doing about it, because oftentimes they're not doing much of anything. Don't worry, I'm going to address what does that mean for Bitcoin investors and holders if the electricity goes down or the grid goes down. But first I want to just point out the elephant in the room. The people that say, what are you going to do or how are you going to buy stuff with your Bitcoin when the grid goes down? You're going to be SOL. I'm going to just start firing back. Like, can you please share with me all of the relationships that you've built where you'll be able to buy items, food, wants, and needs with gold? So again, it's one thing for someone to criticize Bitcoin and say it's BS. You're not going to be able to use it. They're trying to control the internet. The predator class can shut you out of the economy and the internet. For people that say that, if they in turn say, on the other hand, I think that we should build and establish barter networks, or I've been trading with my friends and with local businesses and farmers and food producers. I've been buying goods and services from them with silver dimes and small tenth of an ounce gold coins. I'll buy some beef from the local cattle rancher. Then I'm all ears about that. I'm all in. Hey, more power to you, brother. I'm not all Bitcoin, all Monero. I'm a silver guy. I'm a barter guy. I'm a connect with local food producers and artisans to trade amongst ourselves kind of guy. But the difference oftentimes, more often than not, is not only am I investing in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, but I also have silver, barter networks and relationships. And a lot of the complainers, a lot of the detractors, they're not doing any of that. Maybe they just have a small stash of gold. But here's the thing too, like you got a gold ounce. What's gold worth right now? Let's go look at gold price right now. 1 ounce of gold is worth currently $2,146. 1 ounce of silver is $24. So inevitably, the gold bugs come out, and oftentimes they're bothered and offended, and there's like Peter Schiff, for example, and it turns into this gold versus Bitcoin, this gold and silver versus Bitcoin thing. When in all reality, reasonable people recognize that there's certain qualities and characteristics that make both valuable in different circumstances. So they come out and they're like, oh, my gold, no. But again, at the end of the day, you have a gold ounce. Let's say you have an ounce of gold. More power to you. $2,000, 146, 2,146. What are you going to do with that ounce of gold when you need to go buy some produce from the local farmer's market if the internet shut down? Again, it's people that are detracting. They're concerned the internet's going to be taken away or the grid's going to go down. But most of them, the good majority of people making that complaint and that concern and that objection, haven't done anything in their own lives to prepare for what's to come in that regard. And sure, if you're prepped or you own gold, it takes a little bit more than that. It takes establishing real-world relationships, counter-economic trade networks within your community. And people oftentimes haven't done that. And like I said, more power to you. If you're going to complain, if you're going to raise objections about Bitcoin, and then you're going to follow up with, I'm worried about Bitcoin, what happens when the internet goes down, this is what I've managed to do with my local community, then I'm all ears. Let me come on the show. Let's hear about your projects and what you're doing. But most people are just detracting, which leads me to believe, and to be perfectly frank with you guys, I believe there are some good objections about Bitcoin that we should explore. And as somebody that's a Bitcoin proponent, I work to overcome these objections and help people understand really what's going on here. But I think a lot of the objections have more to do with people justifying their inaction in the past when it comes to Bitcoin. There's been people that have just been sounding the alarm. The dollar is failing. It's being inflated. The banks are shutting down. You don't control the money in the bank. Boo, boo, putting that signal out. I've been promoting Bitcoin since Bitcoin was about $200, $160. Boo, 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 boo. Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. This is incredible. This is a world-changing technology. This will allow you to create intergenerational wealth. Bitcoin is going to be a huge piece of the financial markets, literally for the past 10 years, 11 years, 2012, and especially got heavy into it in 2013. And the detractors have said the same thing. It's fake. It's phony. It could be hacked. It could be cracked. And then you got this crowd that thinks the New World Order is all powerful. And they're like, if it was such a rebel thing and it was so against the central banks, they would have stopped it by now. I got news for you, folks. The New World Order, the predator class, the central banks, the Klaus Schwabs, the Rothschild family, The deep state, the shadow government, they are not all powerful. They do not control everything. And every once in a while, a technology, a phenomenon, a community, a movement comes along, and they got to figure out how they're going to navigate around it, or they're going to try to co-opt it. But there's certain qualities of this beautiful technology known as cryptocurrency that make it nearly impossible to co-opt. And many of these technologies are what is known as anti-fragile, meaning the more they're attacked, the stronger they get. And these are the facts, Jack. Okay, now here's another thing too. Look, Mr. A over here, can I add comments on here? Let me see if I can add comments. I'm using a new piece of technology. I'll show you behind the scenes here if you'd like to see. It's going to do this weird thing, but this is our Wirecast here. I think I might be able to add comments that come in. Maybe not. Overlays. I'll get this all set up. We're going to be dialing this in. This is one of the things that took me a while to launch my show more regularly because I wanted to have this all fired up. Anyway, just a little behind the scenes kind of bit. One of these days, too, I'll have a producer here in the studio just rocking and rolling. But we can go ahead and pull up here to read the comments because we got a good one coming in from Mr. A. Mr. A says, chart the returns of the last 10 years. Chart the returns of the last 10 years of Bitcoin versus gold and silver. Case closed. Any internet going down is temporary. The Great Reset and Fourth Industrial Revolution requires the internet. My man, Mr. A. That's the point that I was just about to make here in a second. So thank you for going ahead and making it. That's right. Like, here's the thing, too. Like, let's say that you have some concerns about Bitcoin. I tell you what, a lot of times success comes with risk, and even if you have concerns, nobody said you had to sell your house or go into debt in order to acquire it. Had you listened to the advice of the Bitcoin community 5-10 years ago and just put in $500 or bought a Bitcoin when it was $1,000 or $1,200 or $200 or even $10,000, you'd be all in on the money. And let's say the internet does go down and you don't have access to your crypto for a short period of time. Hey, man, you're going to be okay when the internet goes back up. Or if you didn't go all in and Bitcoin ends up failing somehow, we're still waiting for it to fail. How many years have to go by with Bitcoin operating exactly as it was intended to operate before you let go of this fear that it's going to fail or any day now they're going to shut it down? Because now it's been like 12 or 13 years, actually 15 years since it formally started. So you just put a little bit in. What do you have to lose? You have a lot to gain. All you have to lose is what you put in, maybe a little bit of pride and distraction. But okay, anyway, that's my little long digression. One thing that I always see and that I see in people because I'm a student of sales and marketing is unspoken objections and like what's really under the surface if we peel things back just a little bit. And oftentimes what I find is that people are critical of Bitcoin because they have to make up reasons for themselves to justify why they missed out on the opportunity of a lifetime. And they'll twist logic and they'll buy into these little BS rabbit holes in order to not sit with the discomfort that they missed out. And I just want to encourage people, again, to come back to, some mindset stuff. It's okay if you made a mistake. It's okay if you thought it was BS. It's okay if you missed out on some crazy gains, because I got news for you. There's still opportunity to benefit. But you gotta get involved in the right way and don't engage in the FOMO, fear of missing out, where you go all in at the top, which is another phenomenon. John and the people are talking about buying Bitcoin when it's 18K, 25K. I mean, really go back multiple years, 700, 200, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, all the way up, 10,000, 25,000, 30,000, 40,000. Buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. And the only time that one of the times that a lot of people pay attention is when the price is near all-time highs, and then they buy a couple $1,000 worth of it, only to watch the price go from 69 to 62,000. Or 69,000 all the way down to 18,000 a couple years ago. And then they freak out and they blame Bitcoin, yada, yada, yada. But there's ways to get involved even when the market's at the top. There's a buying strategy that can help to ensure you overcome that volatility. And in a long enough time frame, chances are, as has been in the past, that you are going to be in the money. And I'm going to lay down some of those tactics and strategies in my upcoming free webinar that I invite you to check out at livefree.academy/Bitcoin webinar. That's livefree.academy/Bitcoin webinar. It's going down in just a few days, Saturday, March 9th at 11 a.m. Don't worry, if you can't make it live, you'll get access to the replay, but I highly encourage you to show up live because that's where all the magic goes down. That's where you'll get the best show. You'll get a chance to ask some questions. But definitely check that out. Okay, now let us address what happens if the internet does go down. Because now I've just been ranting and raving. Maybe I should have started with that. But if the internet goes down, chances are it'll be right back up shortly thereafter. There isn't one kill switch that destroys the internet all over the world. The World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the global government play is not all powerful. If the internet goes down, if there's an EMP in your area, it's only a matter of time before humanity picks up the pieces. And because your Bitcoin, you don't actually own there's no physical Bitcoin. Rather, you have the private keys that unlock access and allow you to send Bitcoin that's recorded as a ledger entry. And so people are like weirded out, like it's not real, it's not physical, I can't hold it, it's not gold, I can't transport it. Just one quick note for the boomers, and I don't say that as like a pejorative or an offensive way. I got all respect for my elders, and there's so much to learn. But even myself, I actually grew up with computers, but my kids more so grew up with computers and devices. But I totally recognize that older generations are used to analog. I mean, you pop on a record, and you get to hear the pure music, the good old days, the way that it was played, a phonograph, right? That's analog. But like it or not, everything is converting to digital. It's faster, more efficient, more crisp, although still there's something to that analog sound. There's something to walking in the woods and being barefoot on your property and hearing the birds chirp, and compared to the stupid Meta Vision goggles, Apple, whatever the heck, Vision Pro, whatever it is, right? So we don't have to completely go all digital and go New World Order, Fourth Industrial Revolution. But I tell you what, you need to recognize that things are going digital. And even though you're clinging to your gold, and I'm not against gold. I like gold. I like silver too. I like gold. I like silver more than gold because I think silver has more upside potential and it's easier to trade. But we are entering an increasingly digital world, and I strongly believe that Bitcoin will be the most valuable asset on the planet, surpassing gold, making one Bitcoin $600,000, $700,000. But I digress. A lot of people fail to recognize that like the entire world's built on the internet. The New World Order isn't some omnipotent single entity that controls everything. There's competing factions, there's competing countries, there's competing global elites. There are major companies that have massive influence over the government and over infrastructure. There's massive companies that actually significantly built out the infrastructure. The robber barons in the 1800s built the railroads, not the United States government, mind you. And while the internet was largely proliferated by the Department of Defense, there were private industries and AT&Ts and Elon Musk putting satellites into the sky, right? And so there's other interests at play. And I'm going to segue this into my next little spiel before I bring my lovely wife here. And Becca, if you're watching, do you mind turning the AC on? Because it's getting hot here under these lights. Let me just message Becca here. Can you turn on AC, please? So here's the grand point about all this. Far too often, people that identify as conspiracy theorists and conspiracy researchers, because that is their primary identity, they project omnipotence, meaning all-powerful, onto this predator class of people, and they fail to realize that there's all sorts of different interests at play. There's competing factions, and these major companies and corporations and the heads of these and the executives of these, A lot of them have been captured by ESG and this and the other, but at the end of the day, more so than anybody, they're beholden to their shareholders. And I tell you what, if the internet goes down for any extended period, there's a lot of powerful people that are going to be fighting tooth and nail for it to come back on, lest they all just dissolve. So again, yes, Joe Biden's captured by the deep state and the Chinese Communist Party, and the World Economic Forum is a faction that has major influence over governments and corporations. But ladies and gentlemen, there still is rational self-interest. There still are good people. There still are ingenuity-laden, innovative entrepreneurs and activists on the grassroots scale creating decentralized programs and mesh networks. And I tell you what, I have more hope in humanity than a lot of people do. And if you think that the internet could just be shut down or they could just wipe away all your Bitcoin in an instant, then what the hell's the point of even trying anymore? Let's just throw up our arms and be black-pilled and give all the power away to the New World Order, because I tell you what, that's what a lot of people do. And now to segue into our conversation about the Exit and Build Land Summit, let me just hit a little bit deeper. I've been thinking a lot about identity and the role that our self-imposed identity, kind of like a mask that we put on, how we identify, the identities that we impart upon ourselves play such a big role in informing the world, informing our worldview, and giving meaning to the circumstances, the phenomenon, the people that we come into relationships with. And I really started thinking about this because I don't try to hide it, but I get mass inspiration from one Elon Musk. Elon Musk inspires the piss out of me, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And get this, my wife and I both drive Teslas. We have a Model X and a Model 3, and not to mention, we have a solar system with 3 Tesla power walls that store the electricity. And on top of that, we also have Starlink satellite to get internet out at our country homestead. So not only do I get inspired by Elon Musk, but I believe he makes incredible products. But get this, I also recognize that he recently encouraged that we should have a global carbon tax. I also recognize that Neuralink, even though he says it's so human beings can keep up with the processing speed of the artificial intelligence beast and not have to use our fingers in order to use the computer internet space, whatever, I recognize that that is ripe for problems and we shouldn't be tapping brain chips into our computer. But I tell you what, if somebody was completely paralyzed or couldn't see, for example, sure, Neuralink seems like something that's pretty attractive at that point. But I recently had the opportunity of touring the Tesla Gigafactory here in Texas. And I was thinking about this and I did a video, and I'm like, I know people are going to judge me. I really don't care what people think about me at the end of the day. But I recognize that the reason why when I look at Elon Musk and what he's managed to accomplish, I'm inspired is because one of my primary identities is entrepreneur and innovator, okay? And so when I see Elon Musk, more so than focusing in on his tweet about global carbon tax or the Department of Defense investment into SpaceX or the contracts they have with the Department of Defense, right? Or the loan that he got back in the day from the federal government with Tesla that he paid back with interest. More so than focusing on that, I focus on, wow, here's a dude, no matter what. I mean, I genuinely believe that his ultimate motivation is to make humans a multiplanetary species, and that's the reason that he's cozy with the Department of Defense, because he has to play nice with the federal government in order to fulfill his ultimate purpose. But besides all that, I see like, holy crap, here's a dude that went all in multiple times. He didn't just go retire after he sold a company for 20 million, 30 million, or whatever he got out of it. He invested that money. He almost went bankrupt multiple times, and he just went all in, sleeping on the factory floor, innovating, making the seemingly impossible possible, having a rocket that gets landable. And here's the point that I want to make, because the conspiracy theorists are always like, when you say the rockets are going to Mars, there's a firmament, the Earth is flat. Ah. There's all these huge things that he's done, major innovations, taking companies and just making them ultra successful, not just one company, but multiple companies. As somebody that personally is the executive, the CEO, and the leader of multiple different companies, I see how damn hard it is. Not to mention being a father. He's got like 9 or 10 kids, which is nuts. because one of my primary identities is entrepreneur, that's what I see when I look at Elon Musk. People who have the primary identity of conspiracy researcher, when they see things, they see New World Order, they see control, and that's the lens that they see things through. And now to segue to the Exit and Build Land Summit, we have a speaker that's going to speak at the Exit and Build Land Summit that is part of this entity called the Startup Societies Network. And they focus on competitive governance and free private cities and charter cities. And they use Hong Kong, for example, to say, like, look at how we have this special economic zone that broke free. Well, it was a territory of Great Britain, right? So they established this economic independence and allowed for free market activity to take place, and the economy shot up drastically. This was at a time when communism was completely in control of the economy of China, right? And maybe China borrowed from what happened in Hong Kong as they created their weird fusion of communism and capitalism. And they point this out, right? This person, Patrick Friedman, who's speaking, the grandson of Milton Friedman, also was cozy with Peter Thiel and started the Seasteading Institute. We know the executive director of the Seasteading Institute. He's a good friend of ours, Joe Quirk. And there's people that have that identity of conspiracy theorist, conspiracy researcher. And when they see someone like Patrick Friedman, who used to do coding for Google, I should say, right? They see him and they think, this guy's part of the New World Order. This guy is cozy with the UN, I'm sure. Maybe he's part of the World Economic Forum. He's not, by the way. But he has this background. And they see conspiracy, and that's what's going on there. Meanwhile, having met this guy, and he lives in Austin, and he's got a pretty modest house. He's a normal guy that just is a big thinker and happens to be part of a network of really successful people that have access to a ton of capital, and they're doing huge, big, innovative things in the area of competitive governance. So we invite him to speak at our conference because my lovely wife, Rebecca, and I, who's about to join us, we see the world through lenses of entrepreneurs and innovators and change makers and community builders. And we believe there's extreme value in experimenting with alternative forms of governance so we can move away from this reliance on the status quo of a oligarchy, corporate meta statist BS, whatever, technocracy, ugly little. The status quo has got to go. And when you have people that are actually moving the ball forward with these special economic zones where companies come in and make agreements with governments to have certain regulations that are voided, certain tax burdens that are voided, and they're allowed to have businesses and opportunity flourish, I think that's a pretty cool thing. What can we learn from this person? How can he inspire and motivate us to further our exit and build goals to build these regenerative eco communities? That's what I see. The guy's not evil. He's not part of the conspiracy. He's not having backdoor meetings with George Soros and Klaus Schwab. We went to a party at his house recently and had a good time mixing it up with other libertarians and crypto people and big innovators that are doing really cool things in the world. And I tell you what, let me make a confession too. I have a friend, his name's Matt McKibben. He's a very successful person. He got involved in Bitcoin and crypto early on. He has a consulting firm that takes companies public. And guess what? He goes to Davos every year to try to influence the World Economic Forum people to be more friendly to crypto and be more friendly to psychedelics. So when there's somebody whose identity is conspiracy theorist and they spend all of their time, rather than building and creating and innovating, they spend all their time focused on researching conspiracies, watching documentaries, sharing articles on Telegram, that becomes their entire worldview. And they, I believe, oftentimes are disempowered. Yes, there's benefit to knowing what's happening in this world. Let us not be naive to the agenda that's at hand, that's at play here. But let's evolve on from that. Now that we recognize the problem, how well versed do we need to be in the intricacies of it? Let's go build the alternative. And let's take off the conspiracy researcher hat and put on the innovator, builder, and creator hat. And let us see people for the value that they can bring us. Let us bring new meaning to people. And I tell you what, let us step into a powerful place where maybe we can influence people that have access to massive capital to take some of that capital and invest in our freedom projects rather than just ceding that area, that territory, Blockchain technology is being used for digital identity in certain countries. The World Economic Forum is a fan of blockchain technology. Therefore, blockchain technology is bad and we should not use cryptocurrency at all. They win. They're in charge. They're in control. I got news for you, folks. Nothing could be further from the truth. And the sooner that each and every one of you and myself recognize that, step into our power, quit complaining, quit researching all day, and go out and build a better world, we do increase the chances and the likelihood that we can experience liberty in our lifetime. And I'm just ranting and raving. I want to invite my lovely wife here. So, Becca, if you're watching, come join me. Let's talk about the Exit and Build Land Summit. One of the speakers, Patrick Friedman, we're really excited to have him because he's doing big, amazing things in the world. And yes, he was part of the Seasteading Institute that got funding from Peter Thiel. And yes, he once coded for Google. But does that mean he's bad or evil? Only if your entire worldview is conspiracy, and when you see somebody's bio, that's exactly where you go. But the point I'm trying to make is I want to move people away from just all conspiracy. Let's be aware of the conspiracy. Let's not do anything that's going to hurt our freedom, but let's also see that there's people that are so confident, so innovative, so connected, so networked that they can enter some of these worlds and put some good into the space. And maybe they can influence the influencers. So that's what I'm throwing out there. My lovely wife, Rebecca, will be joining us here soon. Let me hit the comments. What do we got going here? Let's hit some comments here while we wait for old Becca to join us. Okay, what do we got? Mr. A, it's still early. Last Bitcoin will be mined in 2140. It's now 2034. Now to 2034, 99% of Bitcoin will be mined. That's right. And we have a halving coming up where the available supply of Bitcoin is going to be dramatically cut. Freedom Cell, yay, we're prepared. That's right. That's right. Halving events are every 4 years. It's coming up. Mr. A recommends my Demystifying Crypto workshop plus reading the Bitcoin Standard. Excellent, excellent. Come on, Beckenstein. All righty. Okay, thanks everybody for joining us, for tuning in. Share this with your friends. Make sure that you subscribe as well. We'd love to have you subscribe to the YouTube channel. My lovely wife, Rebecca, will be doing an interview here later with another speaker, the one, the only, Nicole Sauce. But let's go ahead and bring Rebecca Bush, a.k.a. Becca Beans. How are you?
Good.
What's going on in your world?
Just prepping for the Land Summit, so getting all the speakers up on the website and getting the talk titles and schedule straightened out and the workshops and farm tours, so kind of making sure all that's buttoned up so that we have the information available for folks who want to see what all the talks will be about and what they're getting themselves into for this year's Land Summit, since we're kind of approaching it from a lens of can we talk about the theme, or do you think it's too soon?
Let's save the theme for like some big reveal.
Okay.
All right, well, why don't you break down what we got going here on the website so we can introduce it to people when it's going on and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so there's some videos from last year's Land Summit on the website, which I think they do a really good job reflecting the energetics of the experience and how beautiful the immersive farm tours are and what it's like to see these communities and also regenerative farming operations firsthand. So if you want to get a feel for what you're getting yourself into, I would definitely encourage you to watch the video that's on the website.
Should we watch it now?
Sure. Yeah, this one's quick too. This is just a minute long, this promo video. There's another one that's like 6 minutes long, so let's not play that one. But folks can watch that on their own time, and it's also on John's YouTube channel.
All right, let's hit it. The entire system, government, mega corporations, the media is basically a big fraud. After COVID, this pandemic, a lot of people woke up. They pushed too hard and caused a lot of people to start questioning the status quo. We decided, let's put together an event, bring together people that want to homestead, that want to build community, but don't know how or don't believe in their ability to do so.
We have the hippies and the lefties, and then we have the Ron Paul libertarians and the Rothbardian and the anarchists.
This homesteading, regenerative agriculture, permaculture, living together, buying land cooperatively, that is the new path forward.
It's brought together people from all walks of life, and that's what's so beautiful, is that when you come together for a purpose like this, it unites everyone rather than divides everyone.
Don't just oppose something, rather stand for something.
The Exit and Build Land Summit has been awesome, and I would say to anybody out there who's considering doing this next year, do it. You won't be disappointed.
Oh, there
Were
we go.
you muted the whole
I
time?
was muted.
That's awesome.
I always have a habit of doing that.
We were just testing it.
We were making sure you were paying attention there, Mr. John White. Real quick, John White brings up a good point. And he's saying, like, apparently his feed bill is $7,000 per month, so he must have a serious livestock operation going.
Wow.
So kudos to you, Mr. White. And that's another, like, a money mindset thing. Someone says, like, my livestock bill is $7,000. It's so high, it's too much. But I'm like, wow, that means you're really making stuff happen if you got to spend that much money on food for. I assume you say feed bill. I hope your grocery bill isn't that high every month. But John's saying, like, risk is fine. It depends on what you see has real value. And so I'm totally with you. Like, you'll see me pumping Bitcoin. I have no shame about wanting to make money and be wealthy and have financial riches. But really, where the rubber meets the road, what's most valuable, we believe, is having a piece of land under your feet, having the ability to provide for yourself, food, energy, and then most importantly, above all else, what I think is going to really pay dividends, especially if crap hits the fan, is having a community of people that have your back. That supersedes by far more valuable than Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or gold or silver.
I was trying to scroll up because I thought I saw, because I was watching before I hopped
You're my
on
biggest
with you,
fan?
Was, okay, John White was saying that it's actually important too to really invest in like food and having water and things, because
for sure,
like even these last 2 weeks there's been 2 instances where like major communication have failed, like with the cell phone stuff that went down last week, and then like there was a Facebook outage yesterday, and like some people really use Messenger like for texting and stuff. So just like with everything happening in the world right now, it seems like, you know, it's great to learn about Bitcoin, and I'm all for it for a long term, you know, holding it like gold and everything. But kind of shifting gears to buying land and building community, there's a very urgent need to learn about these alternatives, like becoming self-sufficient and getting to the country and finding and connecting with folks who you can, you know, live in community with, who kind of help share the burden of homesteading, because it's hard to do this. I mean, we've been on our homestead now for over 2 years, and it's nice putting on the Exit and Build Land Summit because I'm learning too when we go. I mean, we're not experts in farming. We aren't great at farming, you know, but we're learning.
We just pretend to be experts on YouTube.
Well, so we have a pecan orchard, we have beehives, we have how many wicking beds? Like 14?
12 or 14.
And then we have our tower gardens, of course. But and we have our chicken coop, but there's a lot more we could be doing. And, you know, it's a lot of responsibility. Even this morning, I'm like in the chicken coop cleaning up their poop and like trying to make sure their feed is a lot of work. Not getting all over the place, because we bought this like powdery kind on accident instead of the pellets. And, you know, like there's a lot of things that happen on the land that are hard to juggle on your own. So anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it is really important, like that comment was saying, that we are finding people to do this with, because at the event you have a chance to network, you have a chance to meet people. It's not just sitting in a conference room and hearing talks. I mean, presentations are great. I think we all get a lot out of that. But more important than anything, I think in this time is finding folks to do this with. And so that's what I think is really exciting about the Exit and Build Land Summit, is that you have a chance to literally be in the same room with 500 other freedom-loving homesteading enthusiasts who are completely on the same page as you. And the funny thing too is, like, Ryan's been calling folks who did attend the Land Summit the last few years. This is the 4th one we've put on, and I'm like overhearing these phone calls where they're like, "Oh yeah, I went to the Land Summit and I ended up buying land, and now I'm so busy like getting my garden set up and this and this." And so it's cool to see how many people who went to the event who maybe were trying to figure out what to do or who to do it with or where to even buy land and how to, start this process of getting out of the city and living a more self-sufficient life, who have actually taken that leap and have used this information to acquire property, to start growing food, and to find people to move onto the property with them. And I think that is kind of says a lot in and of itself, like how important it is to just have that accelerator of like getting all the information, feeling confident, getting in that right mindset, finding other people to jam with, maybe meeting the realtor who's going to help you find the property or whatever it is in the process where you're at. But yeah, so for this year's Exit and Build Land Summit, we are going to be visiting different farms for 2 of the days. So people always get confused too. They're like, "Oh, why does it say May 16th through the 20th here, but then it says May 17th through the 19th here?" So we have farm tours, which are optional the day before and the day after. If you can do it, if your scheduled permits, I would definitely encourage you, because I got to go on the farm tour last year in Kingsbury. It's hard as the event organizer to sneak away, but I wanted to experience this, and I felt like it was really important to go and to get that experience and film and see from the attendee perspective how important these farm tours are. So I was able to go, and we went to the pecan orchard with Troy Swift with Swift River Pecans. That was out in Kingsbury last year. And just seeing like different properties is really inspiring. Like in the morning we went to Habitable Spaces, which was also in Kingsbury, and seeing like how they built out the multiple structures on their property and how they've invited various individuals to live on the property with them to help steward the land, and the hugelkultur mounds and the little permaculture zones, and how their compost system set up, how deep they had to dig their well and like get the water access, and like little things like this that you have to really think about. And seeing like how they set up their workshop space, like it helps to get the creative juices flowing, and also feel like, wow, if they did this, then I can go do this too. So this year we will be doing local farm tours in Bastrop. So this is going to be, 20 minutes away from the convention center, 45 minutes away from the convention center, depending on which farm. So folks can, carpool, drive, go see these different farms, have a nice local experience before the 3-day conference kicks off, which will be Friday, 9 a.m. And if you can't come in person, we do have a live stream for the conference portion, not necessarily for the farm tour portion, although that would be cool. But the live stream will also be going on. So this is free. Like, we want people to have this information. We want people to feel inspired. And so we'll have the live stream going at 9 a.m. on Friday, May 17th. And of course, the most impactful way to experience is in person. We serve awesome farm to table meals for lunch. Chef Ray, we source all the goods from these various farm tours that we're on. That's where he's getting these ingredients, so it's really cool to like eat food from the farms that you had just visited the day before. And then we'll have presentations and talks. We do a kick-ass concert Friday night. This is going to be
not just a concert, a kick-ass concert.
Yeah, and last year too, we did like a little networking beforehand, very light, like, hey, come up, speed dating, like introduce yourself, what your project is, what you're looking for, just like quick, less than an hour, so folks can like kind of put their project out there. And then while the music's going on, you can go connect with people in the crowd. Hey, I heard that you were doing this in Fredericksburg, or oh, I heard that you were looking for land in Texas and you're not there yet, but you were wanting to move here. Well, I have a property and I'm looking for people to join. So if you need somewhere to park your RV for a month until you figure out your long-term plan, come out to my property. So that's always nice to have an opportunity to just kick back, relax, drink a beer, listen to some music, connect with attendees. And then Saturday, we'll have presentations primarily about food production and growing food and what all that entails, as well as buying property. And the community matchmaking is also kind of like speed dating, but a little bit more structured. And so we'll have that in person as well. There is going to be a pretty extensive workshop breakdown as well on Sunday. And we're excited to have our keynote speaker on Sunday. Joel Salatin will be there in person.
Woo!
So that's really exciting.
Joel is great. Yeah, so folks, the tickets are on sale right now. It's early bird special if you're watching this before March 8th at midnight. So that's Friday in just about 2 days. You'll be able to get $297 a ticket. It's the lowest price. It'll be going up, and ultimately the retail price is $397. There's also a VIP ticket that you can get.
Yeah, actually, almost the VIP tickets are sold out. Those are really popular. Because we do also, I should have mentioned, we have a VIP dinner where you get to mingle with all the speakers, some of the organizers behind the scenes. And that's also a farm-to-table meal. It's like a sunset meal. We have live music. And also VIPs get front row seats for the whole event, as well as access to the VIP lounge, which is really cool because it's behind stage. And again, you can mingle and connect with the speakers and have that opportunity to... I don't know what you're pointing at.
Sorry, I'm trying to do stuff behind the scenes. I have a Becca cam now.
Yeah, so I was surprised. Actually, the VIP tickets are almost sold out. But so if you do want to be a VIP, that would be good to secure your spot now. But we do have general admission tickets. And like John was saying, it's ideal for you if you want to save a few dollars to buy it before the early bird ends, which, we are approaching. And then I didn't get to say this yet, so I'm just going to so I don't forget. We actually have a really cool opportunity for folks who attend in person to see a very large-scale farming operation from a renowned chef. Her name is Molly Engelhart, and her farm is called Sovereignty Ranch. Some of you may have heard of Sovereignty Ranch from the event called Confluence, which also they are doing another Eclipse event in April, and John and I are doing a workshop there on exit and build. So if you want to come out, you can get 10% off that event as well. It's Live Free 10, and that's called Confluence. But anyway, this is going to be a farm tour at Sovereignty Ranch for either you can go for the day and it includes a meal, or if you want to stay the night, we're working on a way to book out. She has like 30 different cabins on the property, and we're trying to figure out if we could get like a group bus to go out there through our friends at Eco Village Tours. So we're seeing if that's going to work out. But if not, the Sovereignty Ranch, the Sovereignty Ranch, like the scope of the land, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around because it's like 200 acres, like a lot of land, and they have so many greenhouses. Just the food production's insane. Like they have livestock, they have a restaurant on site. She's starting up a microbrewery. So like this is really cool how they've built everything.
They're really
out.
doing it.
Yeah, and there's a magnesium soaking pond, which I think will be really restful and rejuvenating after the Land Summit, after the conference, to have that. It's going to be like a day trip, so it'll be really fun. It is like a 2.5-hour drive from the Bastrop Convention Center, but it's well worth the drive. You can even tent and camp out overnight. So we're going to put all the information about the farm tours up on the website. So yeah, just to reiterate, Thursday will be more local farms. You can see those are like smaller scale farms, 20 acres, like smaller, less land. One of them is 100 acres, but this one is a little further out, but a lot of production going. And they built this out like within like a year or two. Like she just moved there a few months ago full time and fled from California. So I know a lot of folks can relate to that. And you may have seen the documentary Kiss the Ground. If you haven't yet, that's a really cool documentary. But Molly is on the board of Kiss the Ground, and you can see her clip kind of speaking about the farm that she actually had to leave behind in California because of all the draconian policies that were implemented there, and just the cost of living and everything. In California is just nuts right now. So we're happy that she was able to relocate here to Texas. But in the documentary, you would see the impressive operation that she and her family left behind in California. And if you want to see the new operation here in Texas, you're invited to come out to Sovereignty Ranch on Monday, May 20th, for the immersive farm tour that we're going to be hosting for all of the Exit and Build Land Summit attendees.
Excellent. So yeah, the event is all about exiting big cities, exiting authoritarian regimes, and moving out to the country, just as Molly did. She's the perfect example.
Yep.
She was already doing the homestead, life, but in a very onerous, burdensome political jurisdiction. So we are helping to facilitate that transition. And the event isn't just for people that are living in the suburbs or living in the city. We do actually have this cool thing. This was our good friend Patrick, who does a lot of copywriting for us. So the event's for folks that don't have land, that do have land, or maybe they already have land and have built a community. So if you don't have land, we'll teach you how to buy land, whether by yourself or with other people. We'll teach you how to join an existing intentional community. So maybe you want to skip the headache. You're like, I got it. I got to live with other people. I recognize that people are so important with all the crazy stuff going in the world. But I don't want to buy land. I don't have the money to buy land. I don't want to go through the hassle. We'll link you up. There's going to be a variety of different existing communities that are like-minded and care about freedom just like we do. That'll be there on site. And maybe they're looking for a new member, and maybe you're that member. Let's say that you do have land, even a half an acre. We'll teach you how to start and expand your projects, how to monetize your projects, turn your projects into products. If you want to have people live on your property like Rebecca and I do, we'll teach you how to build an intentional community. Or we'll at least connect you with other people in your area. And then finally, let's say that you already have land and community, you're living the dream. We'll show you how to grow more food, become more self-sufficient, and expand your community, take things to the next level. So that's this whole exit and build concept. It's all about exiting the cities, building community in the country. If you care about freedom, if you see what's going on in the world, back to what I was sharing earlier, right? So many of us get what's going on, but we're stuck in the conspiracy research identity, and that's all we ever do is learn more about how the world is trying to enslave us. Well, we're trying to encourage, help, and empower people so they can actually be proactive, not just reactive, not complaining, not seeing conspiracy everywhere they look and at every single person they look at. Rather, taking control of their lives, becoming independent, and building rich, reciprocal, tight-knit communities out in the country where we can actually experience true freedom in spite of all that's going down in the smart cities and with the New World Order. That is our mission, and we are here to help you achieve that mission in your life.
Yep. And definitely the time is now in terms of what's happening in the world. And, I understand why people are so absorbed in the conspiracy, trying to make sense of all the chaos and all of the maybe black darkness, right? But what will help us to get out of that is to kind of be the light, turn on the light, and really find those solutions and to embark upon that journey instead so that our focus is more productive. And that's what I like about the Exit and Build Land Summit is that when we're all, there together and networking and cultivating those relationships, it helps to kind of have that hive mind and that future forward, okay, we get the problem, what we're leaving behind, but let's go build the new earth. And doing it with others and seeing others who are already doing it, maybe it helps to kind of cut through any challenges that they had to overcome in order to get there. And you can kind of shortcut to living that lifestyle and not, maybe making those same mistakes, because like John and I were saying on our homestead, it's been a learning curve. I mean, you don't just buy land and then it's okay, we're done. That's when the journey and the hardship really begins. But if you have other folks that you like to jam with and, who can help to steward the land, it definitely helps to make the process a little bit of a lighter load. And I'm excited too that we're going to have a few different representatives from various eco-villages and communities who are actually sharing hey, here's what we're doing, here's how we've developed out our land, here's how many residential lots there are, here's how we're stewarding the farming operation in the land, and here's how we're building out amenities or a co-working space or whatever. For instance, Marat from the Ark, which is a eco-village in Costa Rica, they've sold a few lots. They're just getting off the ground. It's fairly new, but he has a really amazing site plan, and they have already started the last few years on the permaculture and regenerative farming aspect. And I was actually able to visit the property and meet him, and the story that he was telling and getting called to the land and how many people have already invested in the property. I think they've sold like 14 lots and they have like 80 in the site plan. So it's a pretty impressive project, and it's like minutes from the beach. Just so cool how he's had this vision, and like, within 2 years, it's already starting to like get that momentum and everything. So he'll be traveling here to share about that project. And, having folks present these communities that already are in the formation process and already exist. Some people don't want to buy the land. They want to have the land's already been, developed or like built out. So seeing those opportunities is important. And we're also going to have Mike Cobb, who many of you have probably seen him present before with ECI development. We've worked with him in a variety of different projects. For instance, our teak investment webinars have always been a hit, but he also has all these different eco-villages and intentional communities that exist in Central America, and it's like, spoon-fed, like, hey, it's already here, it's already off the ground. Oh, you want to be in a tiny home community? Guess what? Here it is, like you can see, oh, do I want to be in Belize? Do I want to be in Costa Rica? And like all the different options. So he'll be sharing as well about those different opportunities. And so you don't think that you have to like start from scratch and buy raw land and like figure out what kind of home you're going to build and all this. Like there's so many different options, and our intention is to present all those options to folks who attend and tune into the live stream, so that it's like easier to see what resonates with you and like what feels right for you and where you would want to move. And do you want to start the private membership association, or do you want it to be, set up a different way, like a ministry or a nonprofit or a LLC or whatever? We'll kind of be touching on all these different options, and not just buying the land and acquiring it or joining an existing community, but just understanding all the options to live this lifestyle and ways that people have done it already and have pulled it off successfully. So we'll focus a lot on that, growing your own food. And then, of course, we'll hear from some really awesome speakers like virtually, David Holmgren, the co-founder of Permaculture, will be joining us. And he's even going to be chatting about ways to just retrofit your existing house into something that could work, or getting away from the city and how you can make, small changes to live this lifestyle, or what that process, looks like realistically, just to kind of dive in head first and not, think it has to be some far out, goal in the future, but just like, what can you do today to start working toward exiting and building?
Excellent. And so this is the actual conference. So somebody was asking if we can buy virtual. So we will make the virtual tickets available for you to watch later. The first part of it will be free, but if you want to get the immersive, if you want to get access to the replays, we'll have those available here sooner than later. Right now, we're just really encouraging folks to join us. I mean, look at these. Look how much fun people are having. It's such an awesome community, and we're just really grateful and honored that we get to facilitate these connections. So if you really want to kickstart and have a fire lit under your butt, not only, this is a Freedom Cell workshop that we did here, which is pretty cool. Not only are we going to teach you the tactics and the strategies, there's Marjorie Wildcraft, that you need in order to pull this off, but more importantly, I think, we will help to motivate you, because a lot of people, they recognize we gotta get out of the city. I totally get it, John. You don't have to sell me on the importance of getting out to the country and leaving the smart city. I see it being built all around me every single day. But then I ask them, like, okay, well, why haven't you done it? And I tell you what, I hear all the objections. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to do it with. I don't have the money is a big one, which is why this is actually a workshop with me, Jack Spirko, and Nicole Sauce, teaching you how to make more money. But ultimately, I think the biggest hindrance and the biggest obstacle is that we don't believe in ourselves, and we have these limiting beliefs and self-imposed obstacles that are holding us back. So I want to encourage you to join us. But hey, there's Joel right there. Look, the VIPs get to sit there and schmooze with Joel. This is our good friend David Faber. He's come to almost every land summit.
And his wife Gina.
And his lovely wife Gina. So there's Paul Wheaton, another big permaculture figure. We had Paul Wheaton, we got David Holmgren, and we had Jeff Lawton. So permaculture is definitely a big piece of what it is that we're doing. So, but I want to warn you, do not come to the event unless you are prepared to actually make this life a reality, because I guarantee you, just as we've been discovering as we're trying to invite past attendees to come back, and they're like, hey man, I got the medicine that I needed. I got to work on the ranch. I got goats and chickens and gardens to take care of. I can't come down to Bastrop. So if you're somebody that wants to do this, but you haven't been able to muster up the ability to do it for one reason or another, then you are the perfect person to attend. But again, I'm warning you, be careful, because if you come, you're going to be so motivated. You're actually going to make this happen. And sometimes be careful what you wish for.
Like, look at Adam's comment.
What do we got here? Mr. Adam coming at us. Adam says, thanks for all the comments and participation, guys. Really appreciate y'all. And I do want to encourage you guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the old YouTube channel so we can stay in touch. Hit that little notification bar as well. Adam says, went last year and wanted to go this year, but we are too busy buying and transitioning from Midland to a 40-acre ranch near Jasper, Texas. There you go.
Adam, congratulations.
Congrats, Adam. Yeah, he was saying that just as I was going on that spiel. So there you have it, folks. We really are helping people to get the tips and the tools and the knowledge, and more importantly, the community and the motivation to make this happen. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. It's been real. This is the Live Free Now show, bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. My lovely wife, Rebecca, will be interviewing Nicole Sauce, the one, the only. She's another presenter. In fact, she spoke at every single one. There's a few people that spoke at every single one.
Nicole, Jack, they're always...
Cynthia.
Yeah, Cynthia too
So we always have new folks, but we got some
matchmaking.
recurring faces as well that really just know the message and I think provide some solid insights. So Rebecca will be live on this channel, on her own channel. Check out livefreenow.show if you want to join the podcast. And again, we're doing this free Bitcoin webinar. I hope that you guys will check that out. livefree.academy/Bitcoin webinar. livefree.academy/Bitcoin webinar. And then don't forget, you can get your pre-sale tickets for the Exit and Build Land Summit on sharp discount, livefree.academy or exitandbuildlandsummit.com.
We have some booths also. If you want to have a booth at the Land Summit, like last year we had artisan goods, jewelry making, like artists, food producers, and then, you know, of course there's the front facing tables that have more like for sponsors and stuff. Like, for instance, we had Texas Ready Seeds are coming back, some communities featured. So if you want to have a booth to actually be an exhibitor, to talk to people, there are still a few tables available on the side area for the conference. And then I think there's like 2 in the front area, and Ryan is leading the charge on getting those. So if you would like to have a space and kind of have an opportunity to speak with people face to face and promote your product or your offerings or really anything, we'll see if it's a good fit, and you can chit chat with Ryan. He's his email's ryan@livefree.academy, but if you reach out to I think on a Telegram channel or whatever, we'll just make sure that we find you, and there's a survey form you can fill out. But yeah, that would be cool too, because we're always looking for innovative products and folks who are aligned that want to have their offerings promoted and, you know, featured in person at the event.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Until next